Hello, everyone. I think over the last 18 months, we've seen uh, organizations going through a lot of tumult, especially retail, where our entire businesses have been challenged. We've had issues of stores being open, not open. Uh, there's questions about the third wave. There's also issues about profitability and, most importantly, performance. Performance at the organization level, at team level, as well as at individual level. To look at performance and how performance has been managed and will be managed over the next 18 months, because some of the things that have happened over the last 18 months are here to stay. And how that's going to go forward, I think we've got our panel here. And what we'll do over the next 45 minutes is two, three things. First, each of the panel members will share practices from their own organizations, their realities, what they've been doing over the last 18 months, and what they see going forward. And once that's done, I've got a few questions for them. I'll come in with that. We also have audience questions. We'll field those. So to kick off, and we're going to do it in alphabetical order, so of surname. So to kick off the thing and tell us how things are at and what's been happening at Starbucks on the performance front, over to Navamita Banerjee. Navamita, look forward to hearing from you.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. And thank you so much, Raj, for opening up the session to such a relevant and engaging topic. I think before I jump into the topic, quick context. So Tara Starbucks is going to turn 9 years next month. We have 228 stores. We are spread across 21 cities as of now. And of course, we continue to keep growing. I must say that, you know, through these years, we're an organization that believes in a performance-oriented culture. But at Starbucks, you know, we don't make reference to performance in isolation. So whenever we say performance, we add performance with the lens of humanity. That's what we've always believed in. That's what we've led by. And, you know, while this has been at the core through all these years and will continue to be, I don't think there was a time as relevant as the past 18 months where this really came to the forefront. Talking about few practices here, and I'm going to maybe even step behind, you know, before 18 months and share quick highlights on our approach to the performance framework, and then also associate or attach it with how it becomes relevant during COVID time. So let me attempt to do that. So the first part, what we say at Starbucks is it's not just about the what, it's also about the how. And there's always an equal weightage that we place on the what and on the how. So let me give you an example. So when managers here have conversations with talent in their teams, apart from initiating discussions on how their achievements have been on the KPIs and KRAs, they would also ask and seek insights on what values did the talent demonstrate to be able to achieve that. So for example, you know, did we challenge the status quo? Did we drive innovation? Say, you know, in a team member's family, if there was somebody impacted by COVID, did we ask the person that, okay, when this happened, did the team step up? And how did you fill in for the absence? How did you still deliver on your goals? So that how piece becomes very, very critical. And this is just not within the performance management. So even when we are hiring, we check for values. Even when we celebrate, we recognize, we don't just recognize business accomplishments. We have a strong recognition framework to recognize people who demonstrate the right values to be able to achieve the what. So to summarize, the first part is placing importance on the what and the how. Moving to the second part, it's the concept of having ongoing conversations. So I think long back, I think we moved away from the concept of having just one conversation through the year. So at a minimum, we encourage quarterly conversations. So at a minimum, 4 conversations in a year is what we expect the people managers to have with their talent. But again, during COVID times, it's become more relevant, and it's an ongoing journey. Maybe why even wait for 3 months, given the ambiguity that we are surrounded with, the fear that we are surrounded and engulfed with. So it's very important for managers to ensure that, one, the talent understands what the expectations are. Second, to provide that layer of reassurance that, in case we need to make amends to the goal, we are agile. And I think that agility is the key. And maybe to add another layer of reassurance and say that while we are output driven, but we value the efforts and we value the attitude that you're going to demonstrate during these times. So again, the second part is about how do you make this an ongoing concept and journey for them. And the third part, which I would say at Starbucks we have, is for our corporate talent and for our store leadership, we've moved away from ratings. So, and again, this has been 4 years since we've done that. And the reasons are, so, we observed and we heard of talent moving out of a conversation and they're being overwhelmed by, I got an X rating, right? And they've not been able to focus on their development opportunities. They've not been able to focus on the learnings that they need to carry ahead to be able to improve. And so we said, why label talent, right? Instead, why not create an environment which is rewarding and not threatening? Why not create an environment which inculcates a growth mindset? And why not seek insights from the talent themselves and ask them, okay, what do they think, could have been alternatives that they could have explored to be able to maybe deliver better, and also leverage their strengths, of course. So yes, I think these three would be the key highlights. And to end it, I would just say that during these last 18 months, the way I see it is, there is a shift that is required. So it's not about driving performance now, it's about inspiring performance, because people are impacted by morale. So how do we make that shift from just driving performance to be able to inspire performance through these times?
Thanks, Namamita. I think that's given us some insights. I'll come back to you. I've just noted a couple of questions. I'll come back to you on that after we've heard from the other panelists to take us to talk about how things are at and what's happening with the Landmark group of companies and what's happening there on performance and performance management, especially over the last 18 months and what's in store in the coming 18 months. Sandeep, may I request you to give us your input, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Privilege and honor to be here on this panel today. If I first talk about the basic fundamentals of the performance management system, the transparency and fairness are the bedrock of whatever we do. And COVID-19 brought its own challenges, to employees in terms of a lot of stress and anxiety. And hence, at a prudent organizations, we immediately took stock of that and decided that we will, for the meantime, not continue the traditional methodology of, quarterly, assessments and goal setting, because what we did not have very clearly was where we really will land up in terms of our business targets for evolving, and situations are absolutely out of control. So hence, we encourage employees that in the absence of any, number target, we should continue to focus on basic fundamentals, which is key efforts. I mean, what are the basic fundamentals required to do your job, and make sure that you stick to that and focus on just enhancing the experience of the customer. In what way can you make sure that you take a step ahead in terms of addition, to the experience of the customer? Now, if I break it down in terms of what differently did we do in the last 18 months, actually, I will just sum it up into 4 parts. One is, of course, first, the goal setting. As I mentioned that since priorities were changing and the goals could actually be become irrelevant over a period of time, we continued, rather than focusing on KPIs, we asked employees to only focus on the KEAs. And hence, what we did was utilize the midterm, which we normally utilize for, taking stock, giving hardcore feedback on the targets. We utilize that to recognize the KEAs of the first 6 months. And we utilize that opportunity to now set up the targets for the last 6 months, which was actually by that time we knew what our budgets are like and what we got to achieve. Direction was very, very clear in front of us. So we utilized that. We changed this whole program and made mid-year as the goal setting time, and also recognizing the efforts of the KEAs. Second important thing was the ongoing development, which means that since a large portion of our people, especially the back end, which is the buyers, the designers, the planners, which are very, very key to the entire organization success, we encourage them to really, have weekly check-ins. So we, substituted kind of the PMS into weekly check-ins. Plan for the week, take stock, and then plan for another week, because that's the visibility we had, which also in a way helped us to make sure that employees, the managers are also checking in to check the well-being of our employee, which is very, very important. All of a sudden, people are anxious, sitting at home. They don't know what is going to happen. So a constant connect with the people also helped, but that managers really looking after, becoming a lot more caring, and well-being is also looked after, and hence we are knowing what's happening in the business. Third important thing, which I think is changed the whole, was the bedrock of success to what we did, was the people manager capability. And very early we realized that there is essentials we need to put in this program, because the art of managing employees remotely is something which we need to give to managers, because this was a completely situation which people were facing for the first time in their lifetimes. How do we really become more caring? How do we make sure that we empower teams and actually turn the whole PMS into more number talking to more development? So managers were made responsible to kind of monitor at how many people in their teams have gone through programs like design thinking or innovation, which leads to really creating some kind of experiential journey for their customers. And hence, some of the ideas which were born in those times, the kiosk, putting kiosk in societies, when stores were closed, when stores were partly open, how do you do virtual shopping, were all born out of these things. When, we asked people to go through these kind of programs and ask managers to then speak to them on weekly check-ins of what is that new thing you want to do for customers. Last but not the least is about the, when the whole PMS really culminated, we really avoided, getting into a hard differentiation and really change the methodology rather than going into a classical bell curve, which we used to follow in the previous. We broadly went through people who have created who have performed well and created a difference, and the rest company was contributors, rather than classically making into 5 rating system and taking through the agony of why things didn't happen. We broadly divide the organization into 2 parts: the clear-cut people who have made a difference, and then rest of the company is a contributor, where we made sure that we are creating a differentiation at the same time not being very coming on hard on people. So this in a way, is our journey, real journey I explained over the last, which we have lived through the last 18 months.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Can I request Sanjeev to give us his perspectives?
Yeah, thanks, Raj, for putting me this question. To be very frank and brief in this particular, what are the the best practices we had? To be very frank with you, we showed the confidence in our brand and the employees' capability. That was our the main key line. We empowered our N1 and N2 level of employees. We told them to come out with out-of-box thinking solutions, realign the business with the uncertainty with the market. So we kept on, our employees on the top priority. We always kept our employees on the top priority. There was a situation where we said that no payment will be made. Any payment will go, that is the salary of the employees. Let it be at the front end or the back end. That was our priority. So we were always empathic towards them. Right and transparent communication to all employees by the CEO from time to time. I think that was the key. We feel that we will able to, survive and sail through during this pandemic. We gave all the employees job securities, paid them their salaries in time, maybe sometime before time. We focused on top cost optimization rather than cost downsizing. So we thought always afresh from the board level, across the board. And we played on our strengths, improved on our improvement areas. All employees, starting from CEO down to level of peon, worked best in their respective domains as a one team. And I'll say every organization does that. We also did it. We did the best employee engagement initiatives and well-being and well-being interventions from time to time. That is the reason that in the month of April, we got the award of Great Place to Work and the best leadership in crisis in July 21. So that speaks about the best practices which we had. Thank you, Raj.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Sutanu, I think you've also had a very different kind of 18 months, and I think there were times when while others were shut, your stores were open. You had a very, very high pressure environment to manage. How did that pan out for you from a performance perspective?
Thanks, Raj, and great to be in this panel and wonderful topic. So actually, it reminds me of a quote by Steve Jobs. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And he quoted this long time back when he was designing Apple I or Apple II. So for us also, I think it is the entire model. If you look at the business viability, kind of changed immediately because there was lockdown, and suddenly how do customers come to the stores? So that was the biggest challenge for us and for our employees. Second is, of course, how long will this trend continue? We were not really knowing how long will COVID continue, etc. And I think third is, of course, our employees, our frontline employees, they had rest and been coming to the stores. Initially, of course, it was difficult, but then we arranged transport, etc. And then for our home offices, who were all remote working across 6-7 locations, including corporate. So I think this was the business context in which we operated. And so I think one of the things which Navamit also mentioned is agility. I think in the entire context, the whole focus was how do we become an agile, because we were used to customers coming to the stores, and the online or home delivery was a very like 4-5% of our business. And suddenly, when this thing changed, we had to overnight kind of put a telephone, where the customers come and actually order. So we had to train our employees, in 7-8 days, how do they not only get the order, but process it and then delivery. We are not in that business per se. So I think agility was absolutely critical. So in the last 15 to 18 months, I think 3 things is what we focused in terms of performance management in the new normal. Of course, the first important thing was connecting with employees. I think, that was so having a personalized approach to, so all our leaders basically, ensured that we are connected with employees. So the leadership team, through town halls we call as fortnightly sales meets, we reached out to our employees, and then at the operations, which is our region operations managers and the store managers, we made sure that please be connected with the employees and for safety and other things. So I think that's what we first ensured, as a people approach to the entire, because performance management, of course, can wait. As Sandeep had mentioned, we also, did not really set, because we were in the first 3-4 months from say April to August, you were saying, okay, how the business model was, where the customers slowly started coming. We had to reach to the customers because we are in the essential services to, ensure that we retain our customers and be loyal to them, etc. and stuff like that. So I think, so that was something which we first ensured that our management or our leadership connected with the employees, number one. Then second is not the traditional way of, setting KRA, etc. We said, let us wait. And we said, let's focus on the customer. And whatever efforts you do to, ensure that we in this entire supply chain, we, kind of service the customer. So I think that was some big thing we put actually into the KRA of, especially in the front line. And of course, even in our home office, like our category teams or our supply chain teams, etc. Because we felt that if we rally around the customer and the thinking starts, the agility and all will come in. And the third thing was processes, because obviously, the same processes will not work, so for example, one thing we put across, for example, all senior managers and above is how we depend on each other cross-functionally. And we actually put a kind of weightage on our saying, how did we manage to service each other internally so that we could service the customer. So one was people, connectivity. Second was customer, and third was the process defining it in the right way, etc. So I think these three things work for us. And during the last year also we felt that because we were adopting digital, especially online, etc., is how do we upskill in digital? So fortunately the marketing head of us, he's from that background, and we designed a course actually, and he said that for all relevant people, who are in the forefront for digital. So it is a course over 1.5 months, like Coursera kind, So he took 1 hour classes, and in fact, a lot of store managers joined, and we were very happy on that. So I think that's something which we adopted. I think the targets was not really the focus for in the new normal for us. I think putting this context of people, customer, and process was important, in which we gave the weightage and therefore recognize the performers through the performance bonus, etc. Last year, of course, we didn't give any increments, but that's where we made the distinction. And the last thing which we focused on is go beyond your roles and responsibilities. Make it slightly fluid. So especially in the home offices, we said, okay, hey, you are supply chain, but you are good in category. So why don't you come? And so we did a lot of internal movements of roles and responsibilities, and actually people liked saying, yeah, I have got a more responsibility. So through that, I think we got some traction, and I think it's a good where we built internally careers as well. So I think in a nutshell, this is what happened at Spencer's. I think Raj, you're on mute.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Sorry about that. Gautam, I mean, at 24/7, you must have done things very differently too over the last 18 months. We'd love to hear from you on what are the things you've done specifically in the area of performance management to
thank you, Raj, and
organization level to the individual level. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you, first of all, being privileged to be part of this group. And yeah, so I was managing a couple of organizations here. One is 24/7 Retail, which is a convenience store in India, which only operates in 24 hours in India today. So we primarily spread out in Delhi, NCR, and Punjab tri-cities. And the other piece which I'm managing is Colorbar Cosmetics, third largest cosmetic company in India, operates in all the trade channel formats. Okay. When I look at both the organization, they both had a very absolutely different or contrast effect on the business, right? So 24/7 business, which was absolutely on the essential side of a business, they had a huge drive by a consumer where they were reaching out to us, asking for their help and to supply all the essential goods to us. Where in the Colorbar Cosmetics, being the very sort of a luxury or a sort of a lifestyle kind of product. So obviously you didn't have any customers looking out for a cosmetic range of a product. So we had absolutely different set of a challenge in both the business. But from so for us, COVID definitely has put everyone at shock. Yeah. So it was very important that we continue to remain empathy. Okay. So that was the first stance which we took, that across the levels, how can we bring empathy within the leadership team and across the level, that there is enough support levels for each and every member who are there in the organization, barring everyone. Okay. And right start from the people who are work on the shop floors and people who are in the corporate. How can we create enough support levels in terms of security, in terms of safety, health safety, everything, so that they feel confident and they continue to remain engaged and doesn't have to focus more on the anxiety which was created because of the pandemic. So that was first core area which we were actually focusing upon. Obviously, talking about setting up the goal forms during the period, and since it was initial of the financial year and the goal setting process was not making sense. What we all decided that let's continue to remain agile. Okay, and as rightly everyone's saying here, that That's what our endeavor was also. So rather than talking about annual goal sheet or a 6 months goal sheet, okay, we started setting up a monthly goal targets for each and every individuals, okay, and each and every function, so that whatever way we can start resume our business, or however we can start initiate certain steps in terms of sort of starting the process, okay, of resuming our business in terms of opening our stores, reaching out to the customers. That was the biggest thought around, and that's how we slowly each and with every fortnightly reviews, we ensured that we continue to set up a new benchmark or continue to set up a new goal. That's how we kept at our goal set. However, there were certain key priorities which we have defined in the first 2 months of it, whether it's terms of the technology, the innovation, supply chain, and what are the other critical. So give you one example, like Colorbar Cosmetic was primarily very much focused towards the cosmetic range, but we also knew that this is not going to be the scenario for the next 1 year. So how can we reach out to the consumer? So we reached out to our product development team and said that, can we introduce our product essential range of products? Okay, let's say that skincare, more of a sanitizer range of products, and that's what happened. Okay, so a lot of innovation which happened there, a lot of innovation which happened at the 24/7 in a similar front. So for us, the focus was more towards the empathy focus.
I think we've lost you. Have we lost Gautam?
I hope, Raj.
I think I got dropped out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So I don't know where I got dropped out. So, but the point was what I was making, that the leadership team was very clear that we are not gonna focus more on the outcome. The focus would be more on the effort. Okay, what the person, how and what they are doing, rather than what is they have achieved. Okay, because we knew that the situation is it is very difficult to predict. Okay, and so let's recognize people who are making a lot of effort and what direction they are doing it, what is their attitude towards it. And if we continue to reward and recognize those set of people, and that is what the culture of rewarding effort is what we've been trying to doing that these period.
Thanks, Gautam. Appreciate that. So what we've heard from all of you is, on the one hand, you've re-looked at the way targets are being set. You've looked at, instead of annual conversations with people, you've had starting from weekly check-ins in a couple of organizations to monthly goal setting, quarterly conversations. So I think you've heard all of that. And I think sounds familiar to me too, because that's what we did at Titan as well. We brought the timing down, right? Also, I think there's a much greater focus on communication across in all the organizations that all of you are coming from. And I think greater focus on ensuring there's security, there's stability, and rewards are focused on not just the outcome, but effort, right? And I heard that from three of you on rewards being focused on efforts. Now, all of this kind of seems to indicate that the way we were looking at performance management, perhaps in a linear manner, is not going to work going forward. And a lot of these changes that you've talked about, I think the way you've said it, it doesn't seem to be something which is temporary or quick fix. It's there to stay, right? And but first, can I come to Sanjeev and ask him, am I right in that presumption? Is it that linear ways of looking at performance will not go, so at a very uber level, if you look at performance management, what do you think organizations ought to be doing differently, yeah, if the linear way doesn't work?
Thanks, Raj, for putting this question, which I feel it is close to my, the pandemic corporate experience. See, honestly saying that the learning, de-learning, relearning, what we call in this particular pandemic condition, it was terrific for me in my experience of my career. I usually say to my business leaders that uncertainty is only certainty, and living into insecurity is only security in this pandemic. So we at Pepe, what we did is that we took this uncertainty as a challenge in place of as a threat. So that is the reason that we were able to do a turnaround. Now, coming to the question to what Raj has put to me, I would like to say again, see, the great danger to act in the time of turbulence is not the turbulence, but to act with the yesterday's logic. This is what the saying is. But in this pandemic, my experience has been contrary to this. That when during the turbulence, people stick to the basic logics, but I suggest that we went contrary to this. Now, let us retrospect this. In the first week, most of the corporate, focus was on the firefighting, on limiting the business impact and securing the immediate future. When the second wave came in, the focus was shifted to employee welfare, productivity, and employee engagement. Now, in the expected third wave of the focus, in my opinion, it will be on driving the performance against the adverse business conditions with the right talent pool, because all of us know that now we are always fine-tuned ourselves how to survive in this pandemic. So organizations which will redefine their talent strategies to keep in pace with the warlike situation, pandemic will only survive in third wave. That is what I personally think. Now, in this pandemic area, talking on to the question what Raj put to me, I will like to, share my experience. What we found that the KRA KPIs and the annual targets, which we have set for the employees for the year 2021, went for a roller coaster ride due to the business uncertainty. There was a business uncertainty. So that was the reason that the KRAs and KPIs got redefined. The top line targets had nosedive, and maintaining the positive EBITDA in the high overhead costing and the manpower cost was always challenging for all of us. Hence, at the end of the 2021, when I was discussing with CEO and we were on the same page, that we decided to explore the conventional PF methodology against the various modern PS tools which are used by all of us in the normal times. So what we did is we devised a simple PMS form in a simple Excel template with a 3-tier appraisal rating. So we asked the employee to mention their top 5 smart KPIs, that is key performing areas, with weightage, which they have domesticated during this pandemic, other than their routine operational functions. So it can be like out-of-box thinking, newer way of doing any initiative, cost optimization, operational process excellence, automation, or process outsourcing with some supporting data and presentation. The weightage against the smart KPIs were decided by the appraiser and the reviewer based on the relevance and the impact of the KPI on the business. So believe me, this tailor-made PMS review, which we really did, worked well. And again, for the coming this financial year or performance year 21-22, we have again set the KRA KPIs and we'll be doing with the modern or a linear PMS tools. Right. Now, what I mean to say here is that basically sometimes you have to retune yourself to ensure that basically the right process of the PMS is being done. Now, let me tell you very briefly about the Aon India Survey 2021. It says that 12% organizations have used non-traditional performance measuring methods. So that speaks what I say. Moreover, when you have 20% overall attrition rate, where 15% is voluntary attrition, why? Because it is due to the key talent moving out of basically the organizations, and the retail industry paying somewhere of an the increment payout ranging from 5 to 8%. So my interesting observation during this whole PMS process was that employees in the top 2 grades, that is the exceeds expectation and highly met expectation, has been 38%. That means 5% more than the basically the previous year. Why? Because due to back of the improved business performance and need to retain the key talent, the organization might have put these people into those particular grades. Whereas the met expectation rating has increased to 40 to 50%. Maybe due to the insecurity among the people, the underperformer started performing. That can be one of the reasons. And the last two grades, which we talk about, met some expectation or did not meet expectation, we have found very less people in that particular category. So that means that the bell curve again has gone for toss. So what I mean to conclude here, that the traditional best way of doing it sometime during this uncertainty. I will conclude by saying that when we play a cricket and we find that the pitch is unfavorable and unpredictable, the best batsman like Sachin Tendulkar also, he starts sticking to the basics of the batting. In the same way, in the uncertain pandemic, the organization which do sometimes go to the conventional PF method to counter this uncertainty. That is how I will to conclude, Raj.
Thank you, Sanjeev. I'm going to, one part of what you've talked about is on the first element of performance management, which is setting goals, right? I'd like, if Sutanu, if you can throw some light on that, because the uncertainty that is there, and I think this uncertainty is there for a little longer. It's very difficult to, and I think we've talked, a lot of us have mentioned it, but getting very, very difficult to actually do annual target setting. Yeah, some organizations have gone the weekly route, some have gone the monthly route. From your perspective, going forward, right, especially from a goal setting and setting expectations perspective, what should organizations be looking at, right? Because setting weekly goals or monthly goals or quarterly goals is a huge change, especially in retail. Yeah, though at a retail level, a lot of it works on a daily basis. Okay, so should this whole thing change from having long-term targets, long-term being defined by a year now, or even 3 years, to bringing it down to a very different paradigm, and looking at things, reviewing it much shorter timeframes? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, Raj. I think, it is hourly business, for us. And, now players like Swiggy or Grofers, they're talking about 15 minutes, 30 minutes delivery. So, so obviously you can't do that kind of appraisals. But, what we had done, and specifically from last year, because the first 6 months of last year, April to September, was a lot of uncertainty and, targets. Obviously, we had the annual targets and all budgets were done, but everything went for a toss. So, specifically for my, so I have about 4,000 frontline employees in our 160 stores, including the distribution centers in the country. So, especially for the store, employees, which is the store manager and below, we did have a very manual kind of, a lot of papers and stuff was there, and which itself was very cumbersome to do any appraisal. So, so after I came in, and then we kind of set up a project saying, how do I first automate this? So we spoke to 2-3 vendors, and finally in September last year, we concluded on a vendor who, is in this space of, especially they do it for retail and, QSR companies, where we moved to a monthly kind of, though the targets were there for the full year. So right. For all our store employees, we call it as a performance coaching journey, PCJ, just to kind of, nomenclature it. So we defined the entire journey of, say, a team, a sales associate, then a team sales leader, then a department manager, and a store manager, and an area manager, who is essentially, servicing and servicing the customers. So what we defined was very simple. So for a sales associate, it was very simple about sales and service. And then, we defined what the key 3-4 things these positions do to add value in the organization, and therefore do the sales and service to the customer. So we defined that. And then, of course, we put a couple of soft skills as well, which is, so one is agility, which is incidentally one of our values, group values of Sanjeev RPSG group as well. And the second is customer service. These are customer first, actually, we call it. So we defined these two in the systems, and this became, kind of easier for the sales associate to be, appraised by the department manager or the store manager. And then we link this to their development, because So we have a My Growth kind of program where a sales associate then moves in the value chain. So what happened was the automation helped to systemize this. Secondly, of course, we did a lot of workshops digitally, and of course, my regional HRs went to and communicated this because it was very important to do that. And third is, why are we doing so that it kind of the net ROI is sales, building a sales organization and better customer service. So that's how we have. So over the last, now we have adopted this from October, and 6 months there were a lot of some hiccups were there. But now I think this year, when we are doing from April onwards, it has kind of now set in as a culture in the organization. So the monthly thing works. I think the feedback mechanism, the development, and then the growth, all three are tied up into this entire journey. So though it's an annual goal, but say for example sales or EBITDA, etc., but the focus has shifted completely to monthly. And of course, the hand-holding is done by HR with operations to ensure that it is fair and in the. Now that is for the store and the distribution center operations. For the
thank you, Sutanu.
Yeah.
I think I'll in the interest of time, I'm going to move on from there.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Gautam, I have a question for you. See, while expectations are changing and there's a lot more technology coming in, the whole, even in the retail business, the thing is not only about stores, but it's also about online, and expectations from customers are also shifting. From an employee's perspective, from a performance point of view, what does an employee need to, how does an employee actually perform? What does an employee need to keep in mind to give her or his best in this atmosphere of uncertainty? Yeah. What is your view? I mean, are there some things that employees can keep as their, North Star, so to speak, or points which they can keep in mind to ensure that whatever the environment, they still can do their best and work at peak performance? Because uncertainty can actually take people the other way, So what are your thoughts?
I think a very interesting question, Raj, and I'm sure there would not be, even not my answer would be right in this context, but I'll just make an attempt here. See, I personally feel that in this, when I'm not sure what I'm really expected, but I'm just expecting a great performance from my employee. Okay, so what the best in a manager or an organization can do is to continue have the communication with an employee, understand what is their ground realities or what is their challenges which they are facing, overcome. Okay, and continue to coach and guide that employee. Okay, is the person or employee is taking the best decision basis on the situation what he is or she is facing. Okay, and if we continue to realize over the interaction, over the period of whatever circumstances what an employee is facing, and basis on that whatever call or he or she has taken, okay, which is always most in times is always correct, it is more sound, it is most logical in terms of an interest towards the organization and towards benefiting the customer, I think you should give that credit to that employee. Okay, and I think and that's where it is becoming very, very critical for us, is that when situation is ambiguous, okay, when we are not sure what, there is no there is no consistent process, or there is no defined process to actually to be follow or address that situation, I think trust your employees thoroughly. Okay, ensure that you're building confidence, ensure that there is enough communication which is happening with an employee, so that you are preview to those situations and you can actually guide or mentor him in terms of so that he can come up with the best of the solution. Okay, and let him lead the front. Okay, what we have also realized that during the panic situation, most of the leaders have taken their situations, all of them in their hand. Whether I think what we have worked around is, and the best has worked around, is that whenever you empower your team around and let them handle the crisis well, okay, with the continuous support and the confidence when you give it to them, they handle it much better. Okay, and think the more it goes down the line, the better the execution happens. I think that would be my sum up. Okay, right now, and in the interest of time, would not take it further. But thanks. Yes, so
thanks, Gautam.
Thank you.
While we've seen organizational level goal setting on the one hand, and the employee's perspective into performance. From a manager's point of view, right? How does a manager, especially now while there's work from anywhere in many parts of our organization, from a manager's point of view, with uncertainty on the one hand and work from anywhere on the other, how does a manager witness performance, and how can a manager measure performance better and give feedback, these three elements, which are essential parts of performance management. How can a manager excel in those three so that an employee knows what needs to be done? And from his perspective, he also knows whether his goals are being met or not, the manager's perspective, I mean. And for an organization, it is, done well. So what are your thoughts, Sandeep?
Yeah, so before I come on to the manager, I think there is one important, aspect I would like to cover. As you know, since we are coming out of now, the conventional COVID-19 lockdown stage, and we are just introspecting in terms of what is the best model. I think there is a process we all need to go through is, to measure the job fit, role fit, and the people fit. Who are the people who, what workforce should ideally be working from home? And why I'm bringing this up, because this leads to kind of a successful performance management deployment. Which are the roles really which do need a face-to-face interaction versus the others? Which are the roles which really can be safely, securely done from home and really can be monitored well? And third really is about that the person fit, that is the person really self-motivated, because we've seen a lot, half of the organization sits isolation because they have not been touched about. So these three filters are a prerequisite really to make sure the right kind of people or the right functions or right jobs are allowed to work at home. Now comes to the three important stakeholders in terms of the performance management itself. One is of course the employee itself, and what we are likely to see more of in the remote working environment is a more empowerment to employees, and more autonomy to employees. I will call it out still that it has to be balanced. Sometimes a lot of autonomy also can lead to a lot of isolation, because if manager just leaves it to employees, and then they're obviously on their own. So there is a flip side to that as well. But if you really talk about managers, then I think the expectations really are about managers need to have get into habit of cultivating relationships. And what I mean by this is more frequent communication, more inclusive, and more talking about collaboration is really the key coming forth. Second aspect is really about focusing on outcomes. They have to make sure that employees have clear individual targets which are aligned to team goals as well as organizations goals. Very, very importantly, how my job sitting at home is still contributing to the larger organization is the second piece. Third is really about frequently addressing employees' feedback. And very important aspect where managers need to now start involving is the coaching piece as well. How do you make sure that you are getting into more of a coaching mode rather than more of a telling mode is going to be the key here, because there is an element of care which will always exist when you are addressing remote population. And if I'm really, and one more aspect to that is really about how will a manager really make sure that people who are working for home, he's actually a good advocate for them and celebrate their performance with the rest of the company as well. Is going to become an important aspect. And if we move beyond that, I call out two important cultural aspects which I think we will have to take care of in specifically remote working organizations. One is very, very clearly, how can the HR teams will enable the leaders to shift from a typical hierarchical top-driven style to one where leadership is shared in teams very, very clearly. And second really is, how do we really continue to scan the environment and make sure that the barriers between teams and the organization are really blurred, and there is a lot of overlap on that. So that's what I have to say in this context.
Thanks, Sandeep. Appreciate that. There's one other element of this whole process of performance management, which I think is undergoing a lot of change. We've touched upon it, but I think we need to know a little more, is this whole area of rewarded recognition. And I think one thing we've heard right at the beginning is that it's not only output, but also effort that is important, right? Looking at recognition and reward, and how can organizations do better? And especially with all this uncertainty, make sure that recognition is done right way and rewarding the right effort, the right performance, and the right output. Navomita, can I request you to throw some light on that?
Sure, Raj. I think, gone are those days when reward just meant monetary reward. And I can tell you that in a year where we didn't do increases, we recorded the highest partner experience score over 8 years. So there had to be something different, and recognition is that one key element that is often missed out. So during these times, and when the times are tough, how do you recognize behaviors that are critical to the business? So that business mindset has to be there. So let me share an example, right? So few behaviors, for example, finding new ways to grow the business or challenging the status quo became important. How do you reach out to customers instead of just embracing them when they reach out to you became important. So what we did was we moved away from the traditional recognition framework, and through our Coffee Connects, which is a weekly ritual here where all our employees connect virtually. And we usually use the platform to share leadership decisions, answer questions from our partners. So it's very open. We drive transparency and accountability through that. So we leverage that platform to share success stories. So for example, 1 month, we celebrated stories where people were finding new ways to grow their business. So for example, we reached out with store kiosks at residential areas. So people who thought of that, people who proactively executed that were recognized. The next month we celebrated again, how did you reach your customers? So, people were doing coffee at home brewing workshops with corporates. So again, there was a recognition around that. So one is, which are the behaviors that the organization wants to drive, which is important for them. And second is, how do you then ensure that those behaviors get recognized becomes important? And how do you make that visible so that you're able to inspire becomes important, I think. So yeah, I would say these few things.
Thank you very much, Navomita. I think we've run totally out of time. I've been getting many messages saying, hey, you're running past. So I'm going to not have the time to take on any audience questions. But I think we've had a fairly robust discussion over the last 45 minutes. Thank you very much to all the panelists. I think we've seen that starting from goal setting, which is undergoing a change, some organizations have annual goal setting, but have brought it down to weekly check-ins, to monthly, to quarterly, goals and reviews and discussions. I think the way managers are monitoring performance has changed. There's a lot more use of technology. Communication has gone up tremendously, right? And making sure that people have understood what is expected out of them. I think there's a greater effort from both HR and managers to ensure that happens. I think last but not the least, I think the employee needs to be far more clued on in this area, the period of uncertainty. I think using both technology and Connect on the one hand, and making sure that their capabilities are upgraded constantly. And I think organizations are doing a lot to ensure that there is far more work going on capability upgradation, and recognition becoming very much more important. Reward is important, sure, but recognition has come to the forefront. And I think that's playing a big role as well in encouraging people to perform better. Thank you very much, all of you. Navomita, Sandeep, Sanjeev, Sutanu, and Gautam. And thank you, RAI, for this opportunity to talk about this very critical topic of performance.